Hello crafty friends, this is the Papered Chef here. In today's Brother Scan and Cut Tips and Tricks tutorial, you are going to learn about a feature called background scanning or background scan. The concept is this. I have used a background stamp and I've stamped several squares onto Whisper White cardstock, and now I want to cut shapes out of these for Valentine's Day projects. Okay, so that's the concept. It doesn't matter if you have patterned paper or if you've stamped background images. You can scan this in and use it as the template for what you're going to be cutting out on top of. So I got this month's paper pumpkin kit. I'm talking about January 2020 in case you're watching this sometime in the distant future. The paper pumpkin kit's called I'll Be Yours. And it came with this really cool background stamp. See this background stamp. Now here's what the stamp looks like, or here's what the stamp set looks like that came with the kit. I'll be doing an entire video on making paper pumpkin projects. Okay, so this was a really cool background stamp, and then it also came with a bunch of cutout hearts, the kit. And I was like, wait a minute, I like these hearts. I can sort of make my own hearts. So in this, this concept, I was like, I have all these punched out hearts. I was like, well look, I'm thinking I could use the background stamp, and I could stamp in the coordinating colors from the kit, and I could do my own hearts. But now they'll be filled with, instead of being filled with the white, they'll be filled with this color, but that's okay. So here's how I did it. I took the stamp, it's pretty big, which is perfect. If you have a background stamp of any kind, it really is conducive for background scanning. Okay, so I mounted it onto a stamping block, and this is stamping block, I have to find the letter, E. This is stamping block E. There'll be an entire list of materials. We have really good stamping blocks with good grips on them, and they're really thick. Okay, so I mounted it onto stamping block E. I stamped in coordinating colors. What do I mean by that? I'll explain this when I do my paper pumpkin video, but one of the first things I do is I turn over my instruction sheet and I look at the coordinating colors of a paper pumpkin kit. So this month I said, oh, I have crushed curry, Highland Heather, mint Macron, and Rococo Rose. So then I look for my stamping pads, and I thought which ones would look good in the hearts. And so here's Highland Heather. I had a large stamping pad of Highland Heather. And then there's mint Macron, and you get a free stamping block with your paper pumpkin kit. But I like to use my larger stamping blocks. And then Rococo Rose. Okay, so then I stamped a bunch of squares onto Whisper White cardstock, and I let them dry. These have been drying for a couple hours already. And you don't need to let them dry that long. I mean, 10 minutes is good. I've already mounted it onto the mat, and then you can use a brayer to make sure that your paper stays onto the mat and it's very sticky. Okay? Or to make sure your paper sticks, I should say. So now I'm going to show you the screen and everything that you need to know about the scan and cut portion of this. Okay, so my table is a mess, so let's see if I can get this to work. We're going to be in close here. Let's turn the camera. All right, so the concept is now that I've loaded the mat. I've already done that. So that's the only thing you missed. I'm not going to load it again. I had some trouble. So right here, that's the load mat button. My paper's already attached to the mat. You turn on your scan and cut, and you're going to see pattern and scan. Okay, so let's do pattern first. The concept is I want hearts. So we're going to go to the first pattern, which is shapes. Okay, and I'm going to do 3 of these. I'll put a few hearts on the screen. So let's scroll down to the hearts. And you could do this with whichever model of scan and cut you have. It will do the background scanning for you. So I'm using the STX 125, but you can follow along with whatever model. I'm going to use this heart first. We're going to use BA-A067. It's a nice smooth heart. I'm going to make it 2 inches. You can either change the height or the width, because the height and the width are in proportion to each other right now, because this is already, because I didn't touch that button. So as I change the width or height, the rest change. So we want to go 2 inches. Now I did 2 kinds of hearts, and I like the smooth hearts better. So let's do 2 of those hearts. We're going to put 2 onto the mat. We're going to say set. You see that there they are. See, there's my hearts. Now let's add 1 more heart. So we're going to say add. We're going to go to add. We're going to go to pattern. And again, the shapes, the first one. Now we're going to scroll down again to the hearts. I didn't like the second heart, the scallop on there, which was too big. It looked more like a postage stamp. I didn't really like that. So I'm going to go with the third heart, this one, BA-A069. That's the heart I'm going to choose, and I just want one more 2-inch heart. 2-inch works good because this background stamp is larger. So be sure whatever shape you pick, that you're picking a shape that's smaller than the stamp itself. So what do I mean by that? This stamp itself is about, let me just measure it, put it on my mat. Okay, 2.5, it's about a 2.5, this is a 2.5 inch square stamp, background stamp. Okay, you need to have some wiggle room with the background scanning. Because this was a 2.5 inch background stamp, I'm gonna use a 2-inch heart. Again, the same thing goes for whether you're putting a circle or a square over the top of one of these backgrounds. You want this shape to be smaller than the shape you just stamped. Okay, we'll set that other heart onto the mat. Now we're gonna do what the video is about, background scan or background scanning. Here is the button. It'll be on every ScanNCut you have, this button. Okay, so you're gonna see a button that looks like a scanner. You're gonna click that button and you're gonna say start. And it's gonna scan in whatever's on your mat. So you could have patterned paper on your mat, you could have a piece of cardstock that's plain, or you could have what I have is stamped background patterns. Okay, so there are my background patterns. So one setting that you can change with your background scan, so here's my background, it's in there, but I can go to this little wrench here and I can make my background darker if I want, see? I don't like it when it's too dark, but that's an option for you. I'm gonna go back to the lighter background, just so you know that that's an option for you. Now I have these 3 hearts. I have a scalloped one, and I have a, let's see which one I did. I'm gonna do the scalloped one over the Rococo Rose, because last time in my examples I don't have that. And stick around to the end of the video, I always show examples of my work. And then we're gonna put the 2 solid hearts. Okay, so I have 2 solid line hearts and then I have the scalloped heart. And I'm just gonna put them over the squares that I've stamped. Okay, now if you're not sure if you're doing this right, you can zoom in, you can do the edit it. You can go into edit and zoom in, and you can use this little magnifying glass. And it really gives you more control over where you're putting those background shapes. Okay, so the background is scanned in as a reference, it's not moving. We're now putting the hearts over the top of where they're going to cut out. So this, if you zoom in, it helps you get them in the better place to cut them. We say okay, we say okay. Now we're going to say okay again. Now the background has disappeared, that's okay because we don't care about it anymore. We're going to select cut, we're going to cut, and we're going to cut out these hearts. I'm going to let the camera roll and talk about the auto blade versus the blade depth. So I'm using auto blade technology, because I'm using the SDX 125. So it knows what blade depth to use. And if you are using, say, a CM model of ScanNCut and Whisper White cardstock, then you're gonna need a blade depth of 4 for cutting out the stamped images. Okay, so I recommend a blade depth of 4 if you're using a different model where you have to set the blade depth. But because I'm using auto blade, it just does it for me. Okay, so it says a minute because that's the smallest increment that it says, but it really took less than a minute, as you can see. We finished cutting, we say okay. Let me just test a little bit before, good. It did work. Now I'm gonna unload the mat, so that's the unload button, and I'm gonna tilt the camera down so you can see the rest of this project, or the rest of my projects I created and how to get these off of the mat. So let's tilt the camera like this. So here we are. We are going to remove the cardstock. I'm going to use the other bit of the stamped image for another project, so please check out my paper pumpkin. Every month I do a paper pumpkin video on things you can make with the kit. And I dedicate that to all my subscribers in the United States who are allowed to subscribe to Paper Pumpkin. And there'll be a link on how to subscribe. Now you won't get this kit, it's always a surprise. You're going to get next month's kit. You're not going to get the Valentine kit because that's January and it's over now. You can't subscribe to that one anymore, but you can get the next kit. Pretty great deal. It's a subscription service. It's $22 a month and includes shipping. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm removing the hearts from the mat with my little spatula. My mat was just restuck. I restuck it with, see how sticky it is? Hear that sound? I love the sound of a sticky mat. It's not a sound you hear very often, and I restuck it with something called two-way glue, and I have a lot of videos on doing that. Okay, so here are the hearts. Now, let's show you what we started with. Let me reach for this here. Okay, let me reach. See, we started with these background squares, and we ended up with these really cool shapes. So I hope your wheels are spinning. You can cut out any shapes you want. Any shapes out of these background stamped images or pattern paper. By using background scan, you have a reference point. So let's show you what you can do then with some projects based on this concept. So in this kit, this month's kit, January, it came with enough treats, enough little bags, these little envelope pouches to make 20 of these treats and 10 of these cards. So I just did a few cards using this concept here and using the hearts I cut out with the background scan. So here is a card I stamped for you in mint Macron, and that's the scalloped heart. I'm sorry, it's the envelope of the card. Okay, that's the envelope. And then the little tulips, again in the 3 same colors, mint Macron, Rococo Rose, and Highland Heather. And these little sequins came in the kit. The kit comes with all kinds of little embellishments, and it comes with cute little envelopes. Here's the card that would go with that envelope. And I used the scallop. Again, I do like my regular, I'll tell you, I like my regular solid hearts better than my scalloped hearts, but I'm using up everything that I cut, the scalloped hearts as well. So Be Mine, I stamped the one bee in black ink, and then this is crushed curry. These are little pop-outs that you just pop these little bees out. I'll probably be, well, no, not probably, I'm going to be cutting some of these out with my ScanNCut, I'm sure. And again, stamped in Highland Heather, the little bottom part. And there's the Be Mine stamped in a little punch out, crushed curry. This is mint macaron background. And here's my third little project, and it's a little thank you card for a customer. And it has the little background in Highland Heather, Rococo Rose. And it has the little, or not background, I should call this a border. And this is one of those solid hearts. And I wrote thank you and stamped in mint Macron with the little sequins. Whenever I do sequins and embellishments, I like to add them in groups of 3. So that's why I added the 3 little sequins to the different projects. Okay, well, stay tuned because I will be showing you lots more projects you can make with this month's paper pumpkin kit called I'll Be Yours. And thank you for watching. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe for more crafty inspiration. That's all for now. This is The Papered Chef.